And yep, I'm live and we will just simply begin. Yesterday we learned how to create threads and do stuff with threads and shit. Which was the folder? Yep, shit. Uh, Projects http server slash and server dot c. But yesterday we created threads in this thing. Um, yep, threads.c. This is the way you define a function which will be executed on the thread, and then here you define a variable whose type is pthread_t, and then you create a thread and you pass in a few parameters. You pass in the function, you pass in a pointer to the structure which should be given as the input to that function which is going to be executed in that thread, and then you pass in null. And at the end, either you can wait for the thread to exit and then exit the main function, or you can just exit the main function and the thread will stop execution. Yep, there are a couple of ways you can do this. And now, what does this null mean? Yep, let's see. ChatGPT, n thread create. Wait, I can see it from the man pages. Man thread pthread create a new thread. The first one is a pointer to a thread. The second is attribute t, attribute type. So attribute type is something, and then a void pointer to the routine that should be executed, and then a void pointer to the arguments that should be passed in to that routine. I guess the volume is getting too high, even for you guys. This much might be fine. J. Robert Oppenheimer. Yep, man pages are amazing. The pthread create function is used to create a new thread with the attributes specified by attr within a process. If attr is null, the default attributes are used. If attributes specified by attr are modified later, the thread's attributes are not affected. Okay. Upon successful completion, pthread create will store the ID of the created thread in the location specified by thread in this. Okay, this stores the ID of the thread that is created. Okay, my bad. Yep. Then the thread is created executing start routine with args. Executing start routine with args as its solo argument. If the start routine returns, the effect is as if there was an implicit call to pthread exit using the return value of start routine as the exit status. Okay. If the start routine returns this function, if it returns, the effect is as if there was an implicit call to pthread exit using the return value of start routine. Using the return value of start routine as the exit status. Note that the thread in which main was originally invoked differs from this. Note that the thread in which main was originally invoked differs from this. When it returns from main, the effect is as if there was an implicit call to exit using the return value of main as the exit status. Pthread exit. Upon thread exit, the storage for the thread must be reclaimed by another thread via a call to pthread join. Alternatively, must be. Okay. Alternatively, pthread detach may be called on the thread to indicate that the system may automatically reclaim the thread storage upon exit. Okay, that makes sense. Uh-huh. The pthread attribute set detach state function may be used on attr argument. Okay, I guess, and this means attributes. Pthread attributes. The signal status of new thread is attributes. Attributes. Pthread attributes att r3 man3 att r pthread, of course, pthread att r attr. These are the attributes in it. Include pthread int pthread attributes in it, given attributes, and destroy setback. Okay, some attributes there are in the server. And server.c. Let's include it. Include pthread. And yep, pthread. And what does a thread need? A thread needs a function that it needs to execute, and a pointer on which that function will be executed. Okay, so whenever I receive a new client, I will print connection accepted. Okay, I will be accepting client from the main function, and then passing them, I will pass them on to different threads. That is cool, right? So this much, and that is closing the client at the end and everything. This will be a different function, a void pointer that won't return anything, and we'll call this handle client, and this will take in void pointer uh, client file descriptor something, and then the whole thing. Connection accepted. Yep. Client fd. Yep, it is a void pointer. Just go to there. Void parameter of incompatible type. It is a void pointer, right? So it is a integer. I can convert it into a integer. So yeah. Okay, let me change this to ptr, and here I will say int client fd equals int client fd ptr. Cast to smaller type from a void pointer to this. That is something that I can do, right? I can convert this into an integer. A server fd, that is also something that I need. Hey, what? It close. Why am I closing server fd here? If there is an error. If there is an error. No, I don't want to be doing that. And non-void function does not return a value in all control paths. Non-void function, it returns a void pointer, and I can just return null. Yep, and integer if that is a number. Okay, it is just an integer. I know that this is an integer, so how do I work with that? A pointer to an, I can pass this on as a pointer to an integer, or I can convert this, typecast this into a void pointer and say go to that. Yep, that makes sense. And I'll declare this a bug, and I have the pthread library. I have to create new threads. Okay, and okay, and shit, this I am defining client FD here. I should not. Yes, I can define client FD here, but I will be declaring a new integer every time to store the new client FD. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. That makes sense, I guess. Uh, I will be defining a new static integer every time that, or I can malloc and do something with malloc. I will also need variables to store the the pthread integer and stuff. Pthread t will be threads and it will have 10 members. And how will I keep track of all the threads that are empty? And whenever a new client appears, I will only wait. There should be multiple threads available. Let's say 1,000 threads available at a time, so that I can have 1,000 concurrent users at the same time. Well, for testing purposes, I will reduce this to about 10. And okay, here I'm getting a client ID, right? And then I check if it is fine or not. And then and then I have to call the pthread create function, but okay, and also int client ID equals client FD, since I will be sending an address. So this is fine, since I will be sending an address for a variable. So this is how I want to be doing it. But yes, when I have declared a variable in a while loop, when the while loop starts executing again, it is a bit too loud. When the while loop starts executing again, Oppenheimer is also good. Interstellar. If I have declared a variable, I guess it will go away. Variable inside a while loop, and uh, while loop will the memory for that variable be untouched in the subsequent loops. I guess it will be. If you declare a variable inside, just create a new in each iteration, typically allocated on the stack each time, and is deallocated at the end of each iteration. So yep, that is not going to work. So I will also have to declare an array that will store the client FDs. Right, so need to found thread count 10, and this will have thread count variables, and this also thread count variables. And I need to find a write a function which will give me the threads empty threads. Okay, so here I'll do before closing it. Uh, I will do that. Go to that address and make it 0. Go to client. Go to end pointer. Client FD pointer equals to 0. Make it 0, or maybe -1. Yep, -1 sign sounds fine. incompatible. Yes, since it is an array, right? And yeah, which will I on which ID will I be listening on? Okay, so I have to write initially I can make all of them equal to 0. That is cool, right? And even the threads, nah, threads doesn't matter. And now I will write a function which will give me the index of a thread that is not being used. Index of a thread that is not being used, and I can use that index to store the ID of a new thread that I want to create. So this will return an integer get empty thread, and it will take in integer array and shit, this is not Python. For int I equals 0, I less than thread count I plus plus, and if air I equals -1, return I, and at the end if nothing happens then return -1. Yep. And let's see, handle client, that is not, yep, this function will be used here. So int index equals, I'll have to declare it first, copy, and 25, and right here index equals get empty thread, and I will pass in client fd, and I will get the index of the thread that is currently not being used and pass in the index here. I will have that, and right, so now I have the client fd, and what else do I need? I need to create a thread. So pthread create, it will take an address for threads index, and second will be null, and the third will be the function handle client function, right? And then the last is the argument, and that will be the address of client fd index, right? And do I want to join it at the end? And also I will move forward only if index if index not equal to -1, only then will I move on. And yep, that seems about right. Yep, that should be able to handle 10 concurrent connections at a time. Let's see, client server /server is listening, and postman, and the volume is too low. That is fine, better. Yes, you guys can't even hear it. You cannot hear the music. Where's the postman? Let's see. Will I get some result? Successful version. server is running. I guess maybe the IP changed. If config en0 I96, did the IP change? Yep, it did change. So let me update my DDNS using DDNS script. Now is the right time to check it. Sh duck.sh. Does it work? No, that is the thing. And yes, this wouldn't work. Shit, it is again too loud for me to think. Duck DNS. So now the problem is that my duck DNS dynamic domain name service is not working. My IP has changed, but my domain has not been redirected to that new IP. And I want to create some automatic script which can update my IP. It did update. Shit, 1 day ago. This is my new domain, right? That seems like correct. Did it update because of the script? Shit. If config inet6, let me use this directory. HTTP, yep, seems correct, right? And cancel and send it to this address. Yep, so something is up with the server itself. Server is not serving. Server.c. Alright, here I am creating threads, and here while index is not equal to 0, printf index %b new line comma index, right? And right, that should work. And then here I will printf client id, yeah, client id itself, percent fuck, where is percent 5% d new line comma client id index. Let's see, run the server again, and there is a lot of things in between. Okay, index is -1. Why? Server.c get empty thread. If error I equals, oh yeah, I have to initialize it at -1. Right. Thread count -1. Now I guess it will work. Yep, that's function yet. And I will use my domain name, of course. My domain. And I do get the response. It is fine. Wait, no. It okay, so it was going through there and it kept printing -1, -1, -1. Why? Why did it do that? Get empty thread for I, return I, and if none of them is equal to -1, then do this. Okay, then in the while loop I will do that. Okay, when does the while loop stop? I want it to stop at this point, except, and I guess yes, that at this point it will stop. So let me print the array here. Printf, and first this I put put this character there, and then for int I equals 0, I less than thread count and I plus plus. What do I want to do? I want to printf percent d comma space, maybe no space, and then what is the thing? Client fdi, right? fdi, and then yes, printf closing bracket and then new line. Client server dot slash server. Okay, only the first one is -1 and all of them are 0. That is not how I want it to be. So I will have to manually change it. For int I equals 0, I less than thread count, I plus plus, and client fd I equals -1. Client server, run the server, and yes, all of them are -1. I can send a request and I should get a response. I do get a response, and ID was 4. Let's see. Now again. Yep. 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 That is working. That is working. So, my server can handle about 10 connections at the same time now. What do I want to do next? I've created a server that can manage at some basic level threads and manage multiple connections at the same time, multiple like 10 connections at the same time, and it can handle HTTP response. So why was I creating a server? I was creating a server so that HTTP server in C, so that I can take get the ID. Shit. But yes, I was creating a HTTP server so that I will be able to get the token that Google OAuth sends. Right? Google will send me a OAuth token, and I want to catch it. But the thing is that that is HTTPS server, and that requires encryption and all of those things. And at this point, I do not know how to create it. So I guess I will be using a library to do that. How to create a HTTPS server in C. Because I want to catch the token that the Google sends to OpenSSL library. Load certificates. Wow. Create socket. Wait, bind socket. Yes, that much I can do. And then listen on the socket. Accept connection. Right, and then create OpenSSL. And handle request and response using OpenSSL. All right, so OpenSSL I guess will handle all of the things, all of encoding and decoding stuff, and then clean up. Okay, making minimalistic HTTPS server in C. ChatGPT. I have a few theoretical questions. The only difference in HTTPS and HTTP is that in is that HTTPS takes place over transport layer security TSL transport layer security, uh, while HTTP uh, happens in plain text and can be read by anyone in the middle. And so even though the format of the inner data of request and response is the same, but the but its representation over the network is encrypted, and only the computers that are connected in the that are connected in that session can decrypt that and see the actual content. So creating uh, so the only difference in creating an HTTPS server from creating a HTTP server is the TLS implementation that takes place before passing the request res- response to the HTTP handler, which is just parser and stuff. That seems to be right. JavaScript. Is exactly right. The core difference between HTTP and HTTPS is that HTTPS operates over TLS or SSL in older versions. Shell, secure shell, secure shell. It runs on port 22. SSL, no, it is SSH. Secure shell is SSH and SSL is secure layer, security layer. Uh, Encrypting the communication between the client and server. The HTTP request and response formats remain unchanged, but their transmission is encrypted. When implementing an HTTPS server, the key additional step is setting up TLS, transport layer security. This typically involves obtaining an SSL TLS certificate. This can be from a trusted certificate authority like Let's Encrypt or self-signed certificate for local development. And why is it required? It gives the public ID to the people who are seeing that certificate, so that when they are sending the okay, so that when okay, I will explain it in a minute on Escalator after reading this configuration. Configuring the server to use TLS. This involves loading the certificate and private key and establishing an encrypted connection before handling HTTP traffic. Updating HTTP to HTTP is optional but recommended. Redirect HTTP traffic to HTTPS to ensure security communication. But I will not be able to do that because I'm using a DDNS. Would you like to see how this works in different setup like Nginx or Go? Nginx is a service and Go is a language. Okay. I am using a free DDNS I am using a free DDNS to uh, uh, which points to my IP. How can I change HTTP to HTTPS there? HTTP to HTTPS there. Can I simply change the string, the URL string, and when the server, when the client looks for the IP, they will get my current IP. Uh, uh, but since now the URL says HTTPS, and therefore they will send a TLS connection request over at port 445 for my IP at my IP. If that is the case, yes, you are on the right track. If you have a DNS to your public, you can enable HTTPS by setting up a TLS certificate on your server. Here's how it works. Understanding the client behavior. If you change HTTP or DNS to HTTPS, client will attempt to connect to port 443. If your server does not support TLS, the connection will fail. Steps to enable HTTPS on your server. Get a SSL TLS certificate. What will that certificate contain? That certificate will contain my public ID and a stamp. And what else? I guess that is it. Get a certificate. Since you are using a public host named DNS, you can get a free SSL certificate from Let's Encrypt. Here's how it works. Install certbot. Yep. And sudo install on Mac OS brew install certbot. Okay, I am going to take my time with this thing. Request a certificate for your DDNS domain. Sudo certbot cert only standalone your ddns.com. This request this requires port 80 to be open for domain verification. Once issued, certbot will generate files in this. This will be the certificate, and this will be the private key. Okay, this I will have a private key. Configure your server to use HTTPS. If you are using a Nginx server, update the configuration of I am running my custom server. Okay, I don't know how to use Nginx, but I guess I will at some point. This redirects HTTP to HTTPS and enables SSL TLS. If you are using a Node.js server, modify your code like this. Bash make sure port 443 is open in your firewall. Yes, it is. Hmm. 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 Okay, starting from the start, let's go through first the HTTP thing. In normal HTTP, HTTP, what happens is we are not going to go into the layers of communication. We are just talking at application level here. This is the server and this is the client, and they are using the HTTP format to communicate with each other. So what happens is that over TCP IP, using the TCP IP, these two can communicate with each other, and we are not going into the detail of how TCP IP works because I do not know how they work. We are just supposing that this this client computer can send something over to the server computer, and this will get the request, this will get that message, and it will reply with something. So What does HTTP mean? HTTP means that when you send a request, a request does not exist, okay? TCP and IP enable you to send messages, all right? TCP and IP enable you to send messages, and this message will be sent to the server. But what HTTP does is tells you what to write in that message so that the server can interpret that message in a useful and meaningful way. That is all HTTP is. There and HTTP is the thing that says that when a client sends something, the first initial message to the server, that thing is called a request. Something like this does not exist outside of HTTP. And HTTP is the thing that says when the server gets this thing that we are calling a request, the message that the server sends back to the client is called a response to that. And nothing called a response exists outside of HTTP. These are terms defined by HTTP: request and response, and there is a specific format for these. Like for example, in a request, the first line is called a request line, and it consists of three parts. Last part, I guess, first part is the method, is a thing called method, which can take different values like get, post, or delete. And it is just something that HTTP says that you should send. And the second thing is a path, a target path, which can be in multiple forms. It can be queries like question mark, a equals something, and more queries, or it can be the path like slash html dot something, index dot html something. And the third part is the HTTP version, http dot something, and every line ends with slash r and slash n, and then after slash r and slash n at the end of the first line there is some key to semicolon and a value, key value. And of course every line is ending with slash r and slash n, and this thing completely is called header. And after the header comes the main body. And how is the body specified? They said that after this, the last header line is has ended after slash r slash n. The next line, if it says slash r slash n, then whatever is after that is the body. And there are different intricacies like transfer encoding, transfer coding to specify in which format the body is, and there is also content length to also specify how long the body is and for how long the server should listen. Yep, and that is just how you can write text in a file to send to a server. And there is a specific format for the response to be sent back to the client. And HTTP says that after a server receives this thing called request, and after it has done processed this request and sent back a response to the client, it can close the connection. It doesn't have to, it can close the connection, it has to close the connection. That is HTTP. Now what happens in HTTPS? HTTP and S, let's say it like this. And this is server, and here we have same HTTPS protocol, TTPS protocol, and this is the client machine. Here, um, So what does this S mean? S means secure, and it basically means TLS, which is transport layer security. TLS here, the HTTP handling is same as I defined in the basic HTTP format, but the change is that since HTTP is sending message in plain text, and if there was some computer in the middle and watching all the traffic, that computer will be able to see the text, and they will be able to read everything that these two computers are talking about, and which is not good, which is bad. Therefore, instead of this thing happening directly in HTTPS, uh, yup, in HTTPS, communication happens over this secure layer. And what does that mean? That the let's say a client wants to send a HTTPS request to a server. Then what happens is that the client writes the format as specified by HTTP. It sends that to the secure layer service, and secure layer service takes that and is there are subtleties, but let's say it encrypts that and sends that encrypted message over the network to the secure layer of the target computer or the server. And there is also like how do you establish TLS connections, what encryption you are using. The server has to have a private key and a public key to establish the connection, and those are the things. And okay, I will get into them in a while, I guess. But the basic model is this: the HTTP server, HTTP, yep, normal server, sends whatever it wants to send to the target computer to the secure layer. The secure layer encrypts the data, sends it to the secure layer of the server. In this here, decrypts the message and sends it to the HTTP handler of that computer, and it is parsed, and whatever is the response is sent back here, and this secure layer sends encrypts the message and sends it back to the secure layer of the client, and that message, encrypted message, is decrypted and sent to the HTTP handler in the client computer. Now the basic thing is here that two machines are talking in a way which is encrypted, and only these two can know what those messages are. So how do they know and no one else knows what those messages mean? That is, I do not understand fully, but what I do understand is, let's say that this is a server and this is a client. The server has a thing, has a message called a certificate, a verified certificate. What does this certificate contain? It contains a public key which everyone can see, and I guess a signature of the authority who assigned the certificate. And this also contains a private key, but only the server knows the private key. And this algorithm, in which anyone, if I had a message and I encrypt that message using the public key, then that message can only be decrypted using the private key of the server. This algorithm, I guess, is called RSA algorithm, and it was written by Mr. Rivest. And Mr. Rivest is the one who wrote the algorithm for what was it? MD5 algorithm, Message Digest 5 algorithm, and he is the man who wrote Introduction to Algorithms book, which has a tree on its front page. So the server has a certificate which contains the public key. The public key is the main thing that this certificate needs to have. Then, when a client wants to send talk to this server, in an encrypted manner, then it sends some it sends a message to the server, and the server responds with the certificate, I suppose. The server responds with the certificate. Now, no, I guess when the client sends the first request, it knows that it is going to talk over HTTPS. Therefore, it sends the server a list of encryption algorithms, that over which they can communicate. And the server sees the list and decides whether it wants to have a connection or not. And the server decides, yes, and the server decides which algorithm it is going to use for the communication, encryption algorithm it is going to use for the communication. Let's say the server wants to communicate over the B encryption algorithm. It selects B and it responds client with its certificate and says that I want to communicate over the B algorithm. The client sees the algorithm. The client now has the algorithm B and it also has the public key of the server. Now, for any encryption algorithm, they need a key which they can use for their communication. So, the client now has the algorithm and the server's public key. Then the client generates a random number which they will be using as the key for this algorithm. And the client hashes, the client encrypts this key using the server's public key. And now the encrypted key for the B algorithm, which represents this random number that the client generated, is sent to the server. The server sees that encrypted key and and decrypts that key. So now the client has the key, the server has the key, and also the algorithm that it chose. The client also has the key because the client generated the key and it also knows the algorithm. And now, if anyone was listening to these communications in the middle, in the first one, it can see the list of the algorithms that the server and client are talking about. Then in the second request, that person can see the algorithm that is going to be used for encryption. But in the third one, where the key is sent, even though they will be able to see the key, but since the key is encrypted and anyone listening in the middle will not be able to decrypt the key can only be decrypted using the private key of the server. Therefore, only the client and the server knows the algorithm and the key. That is all they need. The algorithm, this is a G, and the key for that algorithm. That is all they need, and these are the only two people who know that. Then the client sends whatever the HTTP request it wants to send, encrypts the request using the B algorithm with the key that it generated, and sends that encrypted message over to the server. The server knows the algorithm and also the key. The server decrypts the message and sends it to its own HTTP layer right here, and the HTTP layer makes a response, sends it to the server. The server takes the response, generates, encrypts the response using the B algorithm and the key that it has, and sends that encrypted message to this client. The client sees the encrypted message, decrypts it using the B algorithm and the random key that it generated, and sends it to its own HTTP layer. And that is how they generate. And they communicate. That is why I need a certificate for communication. And let's move forward. I guess the volume is too low for the music, for you guys at least. So I need, what do I need? I need a certificate to communicate. I can generate a certificate using this Let's Encrypt. What is Let's Encrypt? A non-profit certificate authority providing TLS certificates to 550 million websites. Read all about us. Major sponsors and funders. So Let's Encrypt is a good thing, I guess. Thousands of people around the world make our work possible. Donate today. Shit. Today I don't have money. Shit, it is not even going away when I go down. Shit. Read about all about us. Get started. Documentation. Yo. Let's encrypt issue certificate through an automated API on ACME protocol. ACME. ACME is something. Uh, Automatic certificate management environment. Hmm. In order to interact with Encrypt API and get a certificate, a piece of software called ACME client is required. No part of the process. Wait, so ACME protocol, RFC. Is it? It is there. Automatic certificate management environment. Public key infrastructure using this KFX certificates are used for a number of purposes, the most important of which is the authentication of domain names. Thus, authentication of domain names. Certificate authorities, CAs in the web KPI, PKI. Getting certificates through your host provider. In order to interact with Let's Encrypt API, I need a ACME client. ACME is a protocol, and to handle communication over that protocol, I need a client that can handle, that knows how to communicate in that protocol from my side. Mhm. And certbot is such a client. So Let's Encrypt didn't make certbot. Certbot is a program made by some people, which is ACME client, and I will be using that to communicate with the ACME services of Let's Encrypt. That makes sense. No part of the process for getting a certificate happens on this website, which is merely informational. The first question to answer for people who want to get started with Let's Encrypt is, will my hosting provider get and manage certificates from Let's Encrypt for me, or do I need to run a ACM client myself? That Why would my hosting provider handle it? Getting certificates through your hosting provider. Hosting provider only maps DNS to only maps domain name to a IP address. Okay, in HTTPS, the client sends okay, in HTTPS, when does the client send client get when does the client gets the certificate for the server? Does it get it as a response first for the first request that it sends to the server establish establish the TLS connection, or does it get the or does the client gets the certificate when it is looking for the IP to that domain? Let's see. The client gets the certificate during the TLS handshake. which happens before any HTTP request is sent. Here is how it works. What happens when you enter this in a browser? DNS lookup, the client resolves example.com. Only this part is resolved. This part is used to see which kind of request is sent. The client gets only the IP address at this stage, not the certificate. Client initiates a TLS connection. The client opens a TLS connection to port 443 of the resolved SIR IP. It sends a client hello message. TLS handshake begins. The server responds with the certificate. The server responds with a hello, server hello message, which includes those encryption algorithm cipher suite. Okay, so the server sends encryption algorithm cipher suite. The server's SSL TLS connection. This is where the client gets it. Certificate verification. The client checks the certificate. Is it valid? Not expired? Is it issued by a trusted certificate authority? Does the domain name match the certificate? If the certificate is valid, the client proceeds. Key exchange and secure session setup. The client and server exchange cryptographic keys and establish a secure encrypted connection. Only after this step does the client send an actual HTTP GET request. When does the client get the certificate? Not during the DNS lookup, yes, during the TLS handshake. Why this matters? If the certificate is invalid, the client never sends an HTTP request. If the client is self-signed or untrusted, browsers show a security warning. HTTPS ensures that even before any data is exchanged, the connection is authenticated and encrypted. Okay, so so this is so the only difference from HTTP. So all the difference in implementation of HTTPS as opposed to HTTP happens on the happens in the program running on the server on port 443 and on the client side, and this has and the DNS and the hosting service has nothing to do with it. It only helps. It only provides the service to. It only provides us with a domain name that points to our IP? Question mark. Yes, exactly. The difference between HTTP and HTTPS is purely how the server and client handle encryption. The hosting service DDNS has nothing to do with HTTPS itself. It only resolves our domain name to an IP address role of hosting DNS. A DNS provider domain name is only responsible for domain.com to public IP, ensuring your domain name stays updated if your public IP changes the DNS feature. The provider does not handle, where HTTP is handled on the server, on the client. Okay, can I just change this to this? No, just changing the URL is not enough. If a server is not configured, okay, curl this OpenSSL connection. When does a hosting provider matter? If you are managing hosting, example OSL, they often provide automatic HTTPS with Let's Encrypt. If you are using a VPS, virtual private server, or self-hosting, you must manually set up TLS configuration. If you are self-hosting with dynamic IP, since your IP changes over time because your ISP, your DDNS provider keeps updating the domain, but HTTPS still requires a valid certificate on your server. Okay, in this case, they can provide it. Okay, uh, when using a hosting service, I can write my server to listen to normal HTTP requests and not worry about establishing the about establishing a TLS connection and then encrypting and decrypting it, and then encrypting and decrypting it. That can be handled by the hosting provider like AWS or Vercel etc. Mm, The hosting provider will handle establishing the TLS connection and then encrypting and decrypting the request and response while my program only uh, doesn't know this and handles your HTTP implementation. Question mark. Is that how it is? Yes, exactly. Okay. 48 laws of power. Like this, etc. They often handle HTTP TLS termination for you. How it works: the hosting provider manages the TLS handshake and decrypts incoming HTTPS traffic. The actual server only deals with HTTP unencrypted requests and responses. The hosting provider re-encrypts the response if needed before sending it back to the client using AWS or Vercel. You write server to listen on port 80, hosting provider listens on port 443. The hosting provider terminates TLS, decrypts the request and forwards it as HTTP to your backend. Your program does not need to handle encryption and decryption at all. This is called TLS termination. TLS termination. Okay, the hosting provider acts as a reverse proxy. It is called a reverse proxy because a normal proxy is is a program that is running on my computer, and it intercepts all the outgoing requests and does something to them, and then sends those requests outside to the internet. But a reverse proxy is something that is running on a server, and every incoming request is handled first by that reverse proxy, by that program, and then only sent to the server, to the program that is running the server. So that is called a reverse proxy because it is on the other side, and it is on the other side. That is, first the program that is running the proxy gets the request, and then it is sent to the server that is actually running the program. And therefore, it is called reverse proxy because in actuality, in normal life, the program handling the request and the response sends the request to the proxy and it forwards it to some place. The hosting provider acts as a reverse proxy that accepts HTTP request, handles encryption and decryption, forwards the raw HTTP request to your backend. Example setup on AWS Elastic Load Balancer. Client goes to this AWS Load Balancer, terminates TLS and forwards the request to my backend, your backend service, Express or Flask. etc. only handles normal HTTP request. What do you need to handle when if you're I am yes I am self-hosting if you are setting up a custom Nginx. Yes, I am self-hosting, so that is cool. Getting certificates through your hosting provider. Establishing HTTPS on my own will be a fucking mess because I have seen the RFC for TLS and it is pretty big. Yep. This is the RFC for TLS and it is big. It is big. It's pretty long. Yep. But first of all, I'll have to get the certificate on my own. For many people, their hosting provider will get you an selecting an open. It will donate. Okay, let's see. I want to write to make a HTTPS server in C. For that, uh, for that, give me a way to get a TLS certificate using let's en encrypt using let's encrypt API using a ACME automatic certificate management environment ACME client and, then a library that can handle establishing a TLS connection so that I can only write a server that handles normal HTTP cycle. Let's see the music stop. Oppenheimer, yo,
YouTubers like sheet music. The important thing isn't can you read music, it's can you hear it? Can you hear the music, Robert? Yes, I can.
second, J. Robert Oppenheimer. Get a TLS certificate. What did you update in the memory? Wants to make manage memory. Shit. 94% memory is full. Once memory is full, new memories won't be created. You can forget existing memories to make space. Shit, it knows a lot about me. Username is this. User GeoFiber. Nginx is hosting an Nginx server on Mac on port this. Nope, you can forget that. Get TLS certificate from Let's Encrypt using AME. Okay. To obtain a TLS certificate from Let's Encrypt, you need an ACME automated certificate management environment client. Recommended ACME client is CertBot. Install CertBot. Mhm. Request a certificate from for your domain. The certificate comes for a domain. Hmm, that makes sense. Okay. Blue install CertBot. Going to be amazing. Now I'm making a HTTPS server. HTTPS server. Then request a certificate for my domain. Sudo certbot cert only standalone d domain. This is my domain. This will generate fullchain.pem, which has a certificate plus chain and private key. And certificates are generally stored in the etc folder. Let's encrypt live yourdomain.com. Renew automatically. Sudo certbot renew dry run. Add a cron job to run this command periodically. Yep, I can do that. Shit, certbot is week. And what is brew? Brew is a program install manager. Program install manager. Program manager. What is the term? What is brew? What is the term? Package manager. Package manager. Yep. Package manager for OS that is not provided by Mac OS. Uh, the missing package manager for Mac OS. Missing because it is missing, not provided by Apple. Okay, I can add this thing in my Chrome tab. So the Chrome tab E, is it empty? Nope, it is not. I want this to be performed, renewed every, this is for minute, then for hour in the day, then for day in the month, then for month. Every 2 months would be fine, and then for every 2 months, and then comes day of the week. Yep, every day of the week, every 2 months. That should work. And also, let me try this. Every minute, do 2, 3, 4, right? And echo hello, and append it into slash users slash Jatin, and let's say which file can I or this ls output dot ls output dot exe. Yeah, installing Chrome app. It is still downloading. Downloading. So what LLVM? It is downloading what LLVM. And now SVH enter output.txt. And at the end, yep, I do see hello. And in a minute, I should see another hello if the certificate is running. And I should also see it for the certificate management service for certbot. Chrome does not exist yet, and I am it will require password since this is Google. How can I get password into it? Put the output in slash users then slash program gramming slash certificate dot ext, or more correctly certificate dot ext. See, um cert dot certificate dot ext and cert dot certificate dot ext, and cd for now, cd and ls output. Should I see two hellos? I do see two hellos. And it's no, yes, kbps is going way low at times. FPS is not even a mark. Yeah, it's horrible. Maybe my stream even fucking ended and I don't know what to know. Use library and see. Library. Use GNU TLS. GNU licensed alternative. GNU is not Unix. Embed TLS, lightweight for embedded systems. Okay. Then this example uses OpenTLS to establish a TLS connection. Cert file and key file. And this is how I can start a HTTPS server. Let's go to programming and cert what does it has anything? Nope, it does not. What was the command? Shit, why the fuck is it taking so long? Manifesting time destiny. Password and certbot does not exist, right? certbot does not exist. No simultaneous renewals were attempted. Saving debug to log this. Let's encrypt. Shit, I already have. Let's encrypt. No simulated renewals were attempted. So I already have certbot, it seems. Why the fuck is it downloading MySQL? Okay, that is too much, I guess. Certbot. Certbot. It is a command. So I already have certbot. Apache internal version. Okay, certbot Apache internal plugin error while loading version mismatch. Brew uninstall certbot and shit, brew is misbehaving. Certbot, let's see. Error, uninstalling certbot homebrew. Yep, and they could not remove certbot key. Do manually. Okay, and okay, I will not do that. Then lists of providers. Certbot contribute. I can contribute. Certbot instructions to use certbot. Yep. To use certbot you will need this an HTTP website already online with a port 800, which is hosted on a server which you can access via SSH. Nope, I cannot access this server via SSH with the ability to sudo. Optionally, if you want a wildcard cert DNS credentials. I cannot SSH in the server because I am the server. Command line, yep. Don't have the requirement. See full and certbot instructions. Soft. What is the software? Web hosting product on Mac OS. Let's see. Hosting. What is wildcard? Search into this wildcard. Check if your DNS provider is supported. Okay, it depends on the DNS provider though that are supported. Let's see. How do I see? Gandhi? Opt-in certificate via Gandhi. Bit of tangents. Brew install certbot. That should work. Downloading formula JSON formula. Brew link certbot to link is already installed. It is just not linked. Okay. Brew link certbot. Okay. It is now linked. Doesn't seem like it. CERTBOT. Nope. Brew install certbot. Ah, shit. This is painful. Install certbot on Mac. Others on Mac certbot instruction. Install homebrew. Yep. Install certbot through install certbot. How you'd like to run certbot. Yeah. Brew reinstall. Reinstall. Is it running certbot? Nope. Brewing reinstall certbot. CERTBOT. Yep. Brew reinstall certbot and running on Mac OS. SSH into the server. No. Um. Software. SSH. Install homebrew. Then install certbot. Choose how you would like to run certbot. Are you okay with temporary stopping your effort? Yes, my web server is not currently running on this machine. Stop your web server, then run this command to get a certificate. Certbot will temporarily spin up a web server on your machine. Sudo certbot cert only stand alone. I could not remove certbot package, do so manually. Sudo rmrf slash no slash opt slash homebrew seller certbot. Yeah, just fucking delete everything. Password is given, and now brew install certbot. Let's see. Unknown command. Yes, it is unknown. S install certbot. No, I need to keep my server running. Now I can temporarily stop my server. Sudo certbot cert only standalone. Okay, and install your certificate. Important note: to use the webroot plugin, your server must be configured to serve files from hidden directories like this. In is treating, especially your server configuration, you might need to modify the configuration to ensure that file inside this are served by this. No such file or directory. I fucking messed up. I fucking messed up, didn't I? Brew install certbot. Yes, I changed brew to brew. CERTBOT. It is not linked. It said no such file or directory. I fucking messed up. Certbot linked. Do I have to reinstall brew? Brew reinstall brew. Does that work? Why is it taking so much time? Okay, document brev. No. Brew reinstall home brew. Shit, package manager. Install your certificate. You will need to install your new certificate in the configuration for file for your server, web server. That makes sense. Set up automatic renewal. I can do this. In Chrome tab. We recommend running the following line, which will add a Chrome tab job to the default Chrome tab. Echo run this 12. That means every 12 days or every 12 hours. Yeah, every 12 hour. 12th hour import random import time. So this sudo this. I confirm the certificate worked. That is not much. No, 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 no. Homebrew. Let's see the missing package manager or the how to delete homebrew and actually mess up. Reinstall homebrew. The best safest way to reinstall homebrew. Max hole. Running homebrew, installing updating Mac was unintended homebrew installations. Other locations. See, running homebrew. I want to upgrade homebrew upgrade brew update. Updating homebrew already up to date. That is messed up. Brew install certbot. Okay, so I suppose what is happening is that the file in which homebrew keeps yes, the file in which homebrew keeps the file in which homebrew keeps the instructions to install a certain program has been deleted. Um, cd opt slash homebrew. Okay, slash opt slash homebrew var homebrew link and ls. Okay, gcc docker glow cert bot is there. You take and cert bot. It is empty. Okay, and is anything else there that is non-empty? Right, bun is not empty. And gcc is not empty. Read this directory contains the compiler rm cert bot do install cert bot. Yes, that's functioning. Cert bot version. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, okay, cd root and ls, everything that says something like cert bot. Okay, go one folder deeper, one more folder deeper. Okay, I see 4 things that say cert bot inside homebrew. I will remove them. rm recursive and force remove opt slash homebrew bin binary for certbot and opt homebrew opt certbot bot and opt homebrew share certbot. And yes, this command. Okay, certbot is there. Remove rf opt slash homebrew seller certbot, right, and the ls command again. My keyboard got disconnected. Now it's fine. ls. Now that should work. You install certbot. No such file or directory. Okay, let me go a level deeper. and is searching. It is searching a lot of things now, and it hasn't found anything. A few levels deeper. Well, I guess I can tell it to only look in the OPT folder because all the things that I have removed seem to be in the OPT folder. ls opt slash anything slash anything slash anything slash anything certbot anything ls no match is found. Mm-hmm. No match is found. Go and learn deeper. Yep, there is certbot. So remove opt slash homebrew var homebrew link cert bot and look now one level deeper. See anything that says certbot. Nope, no matches. I guess now it will work. Brew install certbot package manager. It's going a bit slow. Yep, and I hope that it works now. Certbot version. It should have printed the version and fucking hell. Ask for help or search for help on community. Let's encrypt or rerun certbot with V for more detail. Certbot V. The certbot Apache internal encrypt plugin. Error while loading. Version mismatch. This is the CFFI version. This located at Python CFI API.py. When we import the top level CF backend extension module, we get version this located in Python this. Okay, it is happening because of Python mismatch. Here the Python is 1.1. And when they are importing, they are getting this version. And the two versions should be equal. Check your installation, and you may need to remove or update this plugin. The certbot log will contain the full error. Okay, there are two versions of Python. One is in Homebrew, the other is in also Homebrew. CFII lib Python 3 and Homebrew CFI lib II lib Python 313. Okay, so brew up grade Python 3. It should be now version, the latest version of Python already installed. So why is this version 1.3? ls opt slash homebrew live Python. See, I have multiple versions there for Python. Remove opt slash homebrew slash lib slash Python 3 everything. Make it recursive and forceful. Recursive, forceful. This is crazy. Uninstalling Python like that. And the things that were depending on that Python will break down. If there was something that was depending on Python version, which I have deinstalled. And there's also this thing here. CFI, what is CD opt homebrew CFFI slash lib homebrew opt CFII FFI slash lib ls. There are Python versions. Okay, remove recursive force everything denied. Okay, I am maybe stretching my hands too much here. Brew install Python 3. Scikit package is already installed and up to date. Brew, so certbot version proc from certbot mean import this from no module named CFI backend line 8. Fucking hell. I just want to delete my root folder and then work with it. Certbot 3.3 lib imported from trust. No module named CFFI backend. Certbot. Homebrew win certbot cd of homebrew bin. Okay, well that is binary, so there would be nothing that I can see and make sense of. Yeah, my mouse stopped working. Now it is working. Okay, I am facing problems with certbot being installed, and the problem is that the dependencies it requires are not matching in version. So what I want to do now is delete certbot along with all of its dependencies and then reinstall the whole thing as required. You can completely remove certbot and its dependencies and then reinstall it properly. Here's how you do it on Mac. I want to do it on Mac. How to do it on Mac? I don't have apt command. Uninstall the certbot, brew install, ignore dependencies, certbot, brew, auto remove. Okay, let's just blindly copy a command given to us by the internet and write it in a root directory. I could not remove cryptography, do so manually. Okay, I will do that manually. Ignore dependencies. Now, if we want to remove all certbot related files, also run this. Let's encrypt and reinstall certbot. Okay, do this and sudo rm rf slash opt homebrew etc etc slash let's no, not this etc. Or no, it does not talk about it. Homebrew slash seller slash cryptography slash 4402 and yep, and also seller inside seller certificate 2025. Yep, that is the file and brew install certbot along with all the dependencies and stuff. To install certbot, install certbot dependencies. To install certbot in Unix for Apache. This nah. Verify the installation. Certbot version. I guess it is installing now. Error, 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 error. CFII backend. Let's use ChatGPT to get rid of it. I am getting this error when running certbot. libffi python and certbot. Then check Python environment. This my Python environment is fucking messed up. What is CFII? CFFI. CFFI stands for C Foreign Function Interface. It is a library for interacting with C code from Python. It is a library for interacting with C code from Python. CFFI, C Foreign Function Interface. Okay, module allows you to call functions in C libraries directly from Python and work with C data structures, providing a way to bridge the gap between Python and C. Cool. That is cool. And here is a breakdown of the key features. Calling C functions, it allows Python code, working with C data structures, efficiency. How is it used? CFII is often used in libraries that need to interact with low-level system functionalities or optimize C code. For example, certbot depends on CFFI because it interacts with low-level cryptographic libraries like OpenSSL to manage TLS SSL certificates. No module named this. I'm getting the same error. Same error again. Pip install. Okay, upgrade pip to reinstall this. Button 3 mpip and then check if CFII is installed. Verify CFII version is installed correctly using this thing. Bruh, bruh. No module named CFII. CFII. If you believe this is mistake, okay, is externally managed. To install Python packages system-wide, try and brew install xyz, where xyz is the package you want to install. Okay, what is the package that whose name I gave there? Externally managed environment. Upgrade pip reinstall CFI. Okay, brew install CFFI. Is that something good? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, brew is link CFII CFFI C foreign function interface. Now does cert what work? No, already named CFFI backend. I give the whole error to fucking ChatGPT. Fuck. P uninstall CFII cryptography. Reinstall certbot version. Right, at this point I am just doing random stuff and hoping if it works. Again, this Python install didn't work. Pip install didn't work. Right, and certbot version ensure Python development tools are installed. Xcode. My Python is inside brew. Right, which is bad. Right. So let me delete Python and change yes ls everything that says everything Python, everything that says Python. Right. I have Python in binary in my bin folder, which is good. In homebrew also I have Python. Opt. Okay, everything homebrew is inside opt. So let's do rf opt slash homebrew and shit. I have a lot of Python stuff. Bin slash Python. Right, and ls again. Bin slash I Python. Bin Python. Okay, inside opt. Okay, now go inside opt, remove Python, and now inside bin. Okay, that is in user local bin, so that is fine. I'm looking for only homebrew stuff. Content Anaconda also have a Python something. User Jatanraga homebrew. Yep, ls opt slash homebrew. Everything that says Python, Python at any layer. And let me delete that much. Remove recursive force opt homebrew um seller Python everything, and that is taking time. rmrf opt slash homebrew and inside lib Python everything, right, and ls last ls command. No matches were found. Anything in a deeper layer? Fucking hell. There are stuff. There is stuff. Fuck. rm rf opt homebrew lib pkg config Python everything, right, and ls. Fucking hell. All of these things are in homebrew include boost Python. Wait, what? Nope. Oh, okay. rm rf GCC also has something related to Python. I am deleting everything home to Python. Oh, wait, is Python working? Okay, and where is this? Which? Python 3. Library, Python framework, bin. Pro. Okay, and now install certbot. Is already installed. Cert Bot assert bot version option bad no such file or directory. Okay, brew uninstall assert bot. What was the command to uninstall and then reinstall everything assert bot? Purge. Ignore dependencies and uninstall assert bot. Well, that is already uninstalled, so auto remove is also there. RMRF. So that is taking time. Yep, that works. And now reinstall certbot. Brew install certbot and certbot Nginx. No. Certbot version. Already downloaded. Quite a bit of stuff has already been downloaded. This key was marked linked already. Continuing anyway. Certbot version. Bruh. I guess I will be ending my stream in a while. First, I just want to see if certbot is being installed properly. Pip install certbot. Fucking hell. Bro. Mm. Certbot version. Okay, it is not working because it has no CFII backend. Pip install CFFI backend. That might be stupid. Yay, that is stupid. Bad interpreter. Let us search output. Homebrew pin pip bad interpreter. Dash. This is file or directory. Python 3. That does work. Brew install pip. Pip. Mm, brew install Python. I might have to call Mr. Guido von Rossum to get this mm, working. Install Python. And while that is happening, you can maybe read some theory. ACME.sh is a lightweight alternative. I can use ACME.sh. Wait, what? It is just a shell script. Docker file. Yep, I do not understand Docker. How does that work? There have been 5,000 commits. That is fine. Reinstalling Python, pressing Python 3. Yup. ACME.sh script. An ACME protocol client written purely in shell, Unix shell language. Full ACME? Okay, what is the language? Shit, it is actually in shell. Maybe I can just go there and see tolerance. Users Linus torvalds. Torvalds. He has. Does he not have Git? He is the man who created Git. Here we have our certs for networking, net, and 802 Apple Talk, ATM, Bluetooth implementation. Everything is in C. Makefile doesn't mean something. Okay, let's just see what is makefile. Ah, certbot. What is a makefile in C? Makefile. This has some instructions. Makefile for Linux Bluetooth subsystem. A makefile in C or any programming language is a file used to make utility to manage the build process of a project. It defines a set of rules for compiling and linking the program. Essentially, it automates the process of building your application from source code, managing dependencies between. Okay, is it like a shell script for compiling a